So you've come across this video and you're like, oh, I want to play Wizard101. This video is just basically just guiding on what you should and what you shouldn't do as a first time player or even as a return player that hasn't played for a long time in Wizard101. And I'm just going to basically start off with like what school is right for you. So obviously as you can see, Storm, Fire and Myth are the kind of like damage to the schools. But obviously we don't have a lot of health usually. Depends on the gear setup that they've got, and obviously with levels leading all the way up to level 160, you can literally have like 11,000 health as a storm. Like that's insane. Um, but obviously, if you do decide to play one of these free schools, just be warned that obviously you don't, when you're playing by yourself, especially as a solo wizard below level 50, you don't have much. What's the word? You don't have much of an opportunity to miss a shot if you need it. So obviously, if you fizzle, you're going to take more of a fall from that than you would if you was an ice wizard, for instance, because you're just a lot squishier. But overall, those three schools are really really good to play, and obviously, if you do decide to pick any of those three schools, then enjoy the damage. But if we're going to go to ice, like I said, it's a tank. You basically never die. If you do die, don't feel sorry for yourself or feel like, oh, you're really bad. It just sometimes happens. But overall, 9 times out of 10, if we're talking PvE, you're never really going to die. This school really focuses on just, living, protecting the teammates, like with the tower shields, legion shields, ice armors, and all sorts. It's a really good school to, if you want to have quite an easy ride in progressing. I wouldn't say it's hard to progress because obviously it's hard to kill you, but it is rather slow because of the lacking damage. Like, you don't get your first Ice Blade until level 38, whereas the other schools get it beforehand. So you're going to struggle with outputting that damage for a long time. But overall, it's a really fun school to play, and it's definitely one of the top three schools that I would choose if you're like a new player. When it comes to life and balance, it's tricky because when you get to level 48 with life, you're not this awesome spell called Forest Lord, and basically you go from being, it's like one of those cases where it's like you sit in the background for so long. I mean, you get that spell, and you're just in everybody's face. You're like, look at my Forest Lord, look at my Forest Lord, and it's a really really good spell, and it does a lot of damage. A lot of the 7 pip spells do a lot of damage, to be fair, but this one is really really cool and really unique to life, I think. And obviously with that they have all their healing spells. So you've got Sprite, you've got Satyr, you've got Pixie. Obviously some crafted old spells that you get from packs like Pixie, but overall it's a really good school, and like it says, support helps the team, buffs and weakens. Balance also does something similar to that, but they're more primarily the they're more the support because obviously they have things like weaknesses. They have a lot of array of blades that they can give you, like Blade Storm, Balance Blade, and the universal blades as well. So it doesn't matter who you're putting it on; they're going to take advantage of that. And obviously they've got Hex, and there's just a lot that they can do for a team. But if you're going to go through Wiz for the first time with a balance, I would recommend making sure you have someone with you at least, or going through team ups, because you will run into a lot of mobs and bosses that are balanced, and you won't have anything called a convert for that school. You do have alternative spells that are like elemental hitting spells or spiritual hit spells, but you don't have a convert for your school. So if you only have that one attack that is a balance hit and it is full on balance, you're going to be having a hard time, especially when it comes to bosses later in Worlds, because their resistance is incredible. And for death, you know, it's just basically all of the above. We do pretty good damage. I wouldn't say they're very tanky. It just depends on how you decide to gear your character up. But overall, they're not squishy, but they're not tough to beat. Um, they can do all sorts of debuffing as well. Like they've got bad juju, um, plague, weaknesses themselves. They can do a lot, and obviously when obviously it comes to them hitting, they get spells called lifesteal. So for instance, vampire, you hit a target with your vampire, and half of that health that you do, half of that damage that you do, it comes back to you in health. So if, if you're about to die in a fight, you could be like, just hit with a vampire, and you peachy keen. But definitely, death is one of those where if you just want to easy sail through, just want to be doing your own thing, minding your own minding the world. Death is definitely the option for you to go to. I want to talk about training points because I've seen a lot of people, especially like new players, like just spending the training points on whatever they wish. Like they'll be like, "Oh, I like that spell. I'm gonna go get that spell," and it doesn't work that way. Like you can do it that way if you want to do it that way, but overall, it's if you want to get full use out your training points, it's better to follow like a sort of like strict resume regime. Yeah, regime. Yeah. So obviously, what do we do and where do you get them? Training points are a resource that allows you to learn spells that are not from your school. And basically, what that means is every like it said, once every 4 levels until you reach level 20. So level 4, 8, 12, and once every 5 levels after level 25. So 25, 30, 35. You get these things called training points, and basically what they are used for is so then when you get to the world like Celestia, you will not use things called astral spells and sun spells and moon spells. Moon spells, per se, I wouldn't bother with them, so I'm just going to leave them at the picture. But astral spells and sun spells, sun spells are used to enchant your spell cards, so increase the damage on them, increase the pierce on them, increase the accuracy on them, blah blah blah. And astral spells are just used as like a field around you, so resistance, damage, etc. Along with these training points, you can also use them for other schools. So if you chose Myth, you could go to I don't know, like I said, you could go to a Storm, and you know you could, if you wanted to, buy a Storm shot, which is the equivalent to a troll. But I wouldn't recommend that because obviously, if you do that, you're just wasting your time. And if you've built up a certain set of gear for your myth school, for instance, and you go and buy a storm shot spell, which is equivalent to your troll, it might look like it has more damage, but when you come to hit with that troll, it will do more damage than that storm shark because that is how your gear stat is set up. So obviously, just be wary of that. Obviously, the other way you can get training points is through someone called Prospector Zeke, which is this guy right here. Don't mind that he looks a bit creepy. He means well, I promise. And when you go and see him, you'll see him in all like the main areas of the worlds that you go to. So Wizard City, Crocotopia, Marleybone. He'll be in like the main area, like where you like are introduced to that world. He will have quests for you like this. Like this one is find the Smiths, um, and obviously he'll give you gold, XP, and obviously you'll see a book with a plus on it, and that means the training point. So anytime you see a quest from him, sometimes his partner Eloise gives you quests like this, but that's not more until like Polaris, which you're nowhere near. They give you quests like this, and obviously you can rack up a lot of training points. With Death, you can be a bit greedy with it, and you can try and venture out a bit because there's certain spells like I'm going to talk about later, like Feint. They're spells that are in their school anyway, so they're not having to venture out to spend those training points. Now, how does one exactly spend their training points? Like I was saying, personally, I wouldn't spend it on a secondary school, as your gear is not built towards hitting with another school's hits. An example being, if you're playing as a Myth and you just learn Storm Shock with your training points and your gear is adjusted for Myth damage, the equivalent of the Storm Shock being Troll will do a lot more damage than the Storm Shock would. So, like I said, I'd recommend going for utility spells over attacking spells for training points. And the ones I personally recommend getting are Feint, Satyr, and blades like Elemental and Spirit Blades, which are taught by Niles, the Balance Tree in Crocotapia, which is the world after Wizard City, Wizard City is the world that you're introduced to when you first start playing the game. And those spells are available to learn from level 25. Um, this is what Feint and Satyr looks like. You unlock Feint at level 22 and you unlock Satyr at level 26. So, just keep that in mind. Obviously, Satyr is a life spell and Feint is a death spell. Now, how do you deal with a regular mob fight? Personally, this is just like an easy rundown on how you deal with a fight. So obviously on turn 1 and 2, you'll bleed Trio Blade, so your Trio Blade being your Spirit or Elemental Blade, and turn 3 you would hit. But what the game doesn't seem to tell you, and it's something you kind of pick up on your own, but I just thought I'd let you know in this video, is you can stack the same blade. So for instance, if you've got your normal Myth Blade, you can also get an item card blade, so whether it be from a piece of gear or even a pet. I'm not going to go into pets about it in this video because I feel like that could be a whole other video because that is just torture to deal with. But obviously with those two blades, you can also get a treasure card blade and you've got the same blade on you. Obviously the item card blade looks a bit different with the damage, but that was the only image I could find, but just envision it being 35. And basically you can stack all of those on, so then it's the same blade obviously, it's just different forms, so then they do different things but they don't at the same time, if that makes sense. But it's just a little thing that you should know because not many players know about this until later on in the game when it could have been helpful to them prior. Now the side modes, what's worth and what isn't. There are a lot of side modes to Wizard101 and some of them are good and some of them are personally not so great. And what I'd recommend for you to do is gardening, which you will unlock at level 12. And I'll personally start this ASAP. So get to rank 3 in your gardening and farm for catch potatoes from level 20 and plant them. They drop some great treasure cards and mega snacks from the Elder Harvest. Now, if you don't know what mega snacks are, when you train your pet, you have different sorts of pets. Snacks, and with these snacks, they vary from like rank 1 all the way up until rank 9. Rank 9 being mega and rank 1 being shit. So obviously rank 1 will give you like maybe like what, 2 points towards training your pet, and rank 9 can give you all the way up until 50, sometimes 55 if your pet likes that snack. And obviously on rotating weekends there is a thing called double pet XP, and so double pet training basically. So when you train that pet of that, for instance, make a snack that you use, instead of it giving you 50, it will give you 100, which is really, really good for when it comes to training pets. But like I said, I'll talk about pets in a different video. Obviously with the treasure cards, catch potatoes can give you all sorts of treasure cards, but the primary one that they normally give you at Elder Harvest is Empowers. And Empowers, not so much an issue on our servers, which are the European ones, but I know on the US server people trade for those. Now I don't really condone trading, sorry, not trading, because there's a lot of scams that go off. But if you do get involved in that, just be careful. But like I said, they drop some great treasure cards and mega snacks from the Elder Harvest. Pet training is an important mode. Pets can help increase your stats and your gear, along with many other things. It's also very tedious, like I said, and it's rather expensive, especially when you're below level 50. Like some pet. So if you don't have any friends that on the game, you're new to the game, you've not met anyone, or you've not spoken to anyone, you decide to get a pet. You're at this kiosk in the Pet Pavilion. That kiosk literally asks you to take out a mortgage when you're literally trying to get a pet from there. They'll charge you from about 75,000 to 100,000 plus, and a level what 15 wizard is not going to have 100,000 gold unless you've bought it with crowns, which I personally wouldn't. And if you have, I'm so sorry. But obviously, if you've got friends, you can go into the little building at the side. I forgot what it's called. I'm just gonna call it like the the place. I'm just going to call it the place. Um, and obviously with that you can hatch with your friend and it's a lot cheaper and obviously you can see what you're getting and I think it's a lot more efficient and a lot more it's a lot more durable and you've got a greater chance at your pet succeeding. More side modes are things like crafting. I love crafting, but when I first got into the game many years ago, I hated it with a passion because the amount of reagents you have to find and use to craft, along with the fact that you have to buy the recipes as well, which, like I said, gold is abysmal before level 50. Like, you get given gold, but you do not get enough gold for what you need to purchase. And obviously, if you do get have enough gold, you want to be spending it on certain things, which I'll talk about later. Which obviously, like I said, it grants you access to a lot of great gear, but it's rather expensive and very grindy. None of this gear is necessary either. Before level 50 at least, there is a set of gear called the I forgot what it's called. Oh my god, the Dragoon gear. There we go. And you have to go into the catacombs to get it, and it's a lot of grinding, a lot of farming, and you need to have crafted all the other gear before, all the other quests and stuff that you need to do to get to that, which personally the gear is worth it, but obviously by the point where you get to level 150 you've got Lemuria, and Lemuria gear is basically better than Dragoon gear, so if you haven't done the crafting quest it's no biggie, but obviously if you haven't and you want to craft that gear then it's definitely something for you to do. Fishing is it's a very good way to use your energy until gardening. Insanely good for free fishing weekends, which you know free fishing weekends is a member benefit. Like I said with the double pet XP, it rotates weekendly. So obviously you could have double pet XP free fishing weekend, double animus, which is monstrology, but I don't really have much to say about monstrology. I personally don't like it. Never really bothered with it, so I can't really talk about it for you. There's all sorts double chest rollover, double gardening. Double gardening is great. Double reagents. But yeah, with obviously free fishing weekend, it's a member benefit, so you do need to be a member for you to access it. But over the holidays, primarily, they do offer free membership. Um, it does. We do sometimes do it in the summer, but you never know. They might do it this summer. I don't know. It could happen. It might not. But they do free membership. And I know that sometimes. I think this is mostly throughout the holidays as well, but we do it at random points throughout the year. They do also offer 50% off your first month of membership, which instead of you paying like £5, $5, €5, sorry, $10, blah blah blah, you're paying $5, €5, £5 instead. Which if you just wanted to try out the game, you're skipping coffee for a day, and you're trying out a game, but you never know. In down the line, you may love with a fire and passion. But yeah, gear and where to get it from levels 1 to 125. The bazaar is your bestie. Um, I'd recommend looking every 5 levels, see if any school exclusive gear is worth getting. So obviously, I will show you later like what the bazaar is and where you go, blah blah blah. But checking the bazaar every 5 levels is a good thing instead of checking every 1 level, because you're just going to be going and you're going to be disappointed because there won't be much of a difference between the gear that you've already got on and the gear that you've got on for a level up. If anything, you'll be like, what? A bit of health extra, but that'll be all, and that's pushing it. Level 30, you unlock Mount Olympus. You go to talk to Cyrus Drake in Ravenwood, which is the Myth Professor, and basically sends you to Aquila, and you do these quests, and you give it. And this is your first like hard dungeon for your level that you're given. I would personally recommend doing this because you're given this bad boy, which is the Sky Iron Hasta. It's a guaranteed drop, and it will last you a good 60 to 70 levels, and it's insane. like 10 damage, a guaranteed power pip at level 30. You're getting nothing better, and you can't really compare it to anything else. Obviously, the gear there is really, really good for your level, but that's just a lot of grinding. So there's nothing wrong with you not wanting to grind it if you don't want to, because you're guaranteed the weapon for your first run anyway. But if you're after the best gear for your level, I'd personally recommend you giving it a few grinds, and after a few attempts, you're bound to at least get something. And if you want to go for the full thing, then feel free. It's free, well, obviously with membership, and obviously if you don't, then you do need membership. It is stuck behind a paywall, but like I said, there is free membership and stuff that I do offer from time to time. So if you can access it when you get to that level, it's definitely worth the runs. It's the best free gear until level 50, and it can be a long farm, but it's definitely worth it for the bad boy that is the Sky Iron Hasta. And then when you get to level 60, Waterworks or Crafter Gear, but Crafter Gear is rather grindy, like I said, because you need all the materials, and if you haven't done crafting, you can't get that Crafter Gear, I'm afraid. So it's a win some, lose some kind of case. But Waterworks will be quicker, and honestly, if you really don't want to grind it, you can open a chest after you've completed the fight, which you open with crowns, and you can be given that gear. The Sky Iron has stats which look like this. It gives you 10 damage, universal, and a power pip, and it's a really good wand, and this is how it looks. So if you ever get confused as to how it looks and you don't know what it looks like, if you do go for it, there you go. Where and how do you spend your gold? Gold is not an easy resource to come by, especially before level 50. I speak from experience. So there is ways to get it much easier and quicker, like couch potatoes is the primary option, like I spoke about. They give you so many empowers, like it's unbelievable. If you've got like a whole 69 plot, which you won't know what a 69 plot is. If you do, then I'm impressed. Um, you can literally get a bunch of empowers, and they sell for maybe like 3,000, 4,000 gold in the bazaar. So you're raking that gold in. It's like you've won a lottery when it comes to those. Um, and obviously you should spend your gold when you do get it on gear purchases from level 1 to 25 from the bazaar, like I've mentioned, and obviously from gardening from these bad boys, which is the couch potatoes. Obviously, when it comes to bazaar, this is what the bazaar looks like. You'll find it through Old Town, and then you go through to no, you find it through shopping district through the Old Town. It's currently 1:45 in the morning for me, so I'm just a bit tired. Yeah, you'll find it there, and obviously you'll enter this beautiful building, and you'll see this wonderful man called Elic, and he will serve you all the right goods, and he'll make sure you get what you're looking for. He'll scam you off as well, though, but you know he offers some nice stuff. Now, crowns is a touchy topic for a lot of people because some people refuse to buy crowns, some people buy crowns. I buy crowns. I fell victim to the cash grab that is crowns. Um, would I say that they're worth getting? I would say yes, because obviously in the instance that you don't want to farm for something and there is a chest available, there is that easy alternative, and obviously there is pay to win, where there's packs in the crown shop where you can literally buy packs from, like the Professor Horde pack gives you some pretty decent gear, and it's pretty solid. And if you really don't want to farm for anything, you can get that really easily. It also gives you a few good mounts as well for your school, so there's that to put on top of it as well. But like I say, crowns is the in-game currency that you purchase with your real money, so pay to win. Sometimes available are free crowns through trivia, but currently not available in the EU's versions of the game. Don't know why. They're very bleak with us. We don't really say much. You just say C and TM at this point. Um, you can earn up to 100 crowns a day through the trivia, and you know, after 4 days of doing that, you can actually open yourself a pack for free. You've paid no money, and if you do decide to buy crowns, buy what you feel comfortable with. Don't feel pressured into buying more than you feel like you should. But there's one thing I say: never buy areas of crowns. it may seem like a beneficial idea in the long run, but in the instance that you never play this game again after your first run through, you spent all that money on buying those areas that you're never going to see again. It's just not worth it. And with how many areas there is now, it would just be cheaper to buy a membership. Or even if you say a wish, it'll be cheaper to buy a 12-month membership. So personally, I'm trying to guide you of do not buy areas of crowns. If it tells you or someone tells you that it's cheaper to buy areas of crowns, then they're a bit of a fool. No offense, but you are. When should you start playing? Personally, if you decide to play, I'd recommend a couple of months into the year, as King's Isle tends to make memberships free, which I will elaborate on. So, like I've said, they sometimes, mostly through holidays, they do offer free memberships or memberships at discounted price because they want your Christmas money. um, but overall, it's better to start playing at that time if you ever do decide to play or start playing again, because why pay full price when you don't have to? Obviously, I've seen the first time memberships can be seen throughout the times of the year. But yeah, if you do decide to play again and decide to buy a membership, they even offer crown sales. So if you do decide to buy crowns, it's mostly through like the holidays, so primarily Christmas. They do 12 days of the spiral, and quite often once every year through that 12 days of the spiral, they offer a discounted code for crowns. So I think they do it on like a ratio kind of thing, so you can get from like, I think it's like 15% off to maybe like 50-60% off, I believe, if I remember correctly anyway. And obviously, if you say want to buy crowns and it's towards that time, just wait for that time and see what you get. Either way, you're going to be paying less than what you normally would anyway. So just take that into consideration. But obviously, if you choose to play it, tomorrow, and there's nothing going off, and you're comfortable with paying for that, then you pay for that. There's nothing holding you back. But just as a advisory, the best time for you to start playing is probably a few months into the year and throughout the holidays. But in conclusion, I'm not trying to tell you how to play the game. I'm just simply saying that if you want to play your way, then you do that. You don't have to follow what I've said. It's just a guide, so have fun. If you want to buy a Storm Shark as a Myth Wizard and think that's better, then you do that. If that makes you happy. At the end of the day, it's just a game, and you play how you want to play, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But that's the end of the video, and I hope you've really enjoyed. Please leave a comment below and a like if you really did enjoy this video. Maybe even a sub if you feel nice. And just let me know what you think and anything that you think I could add for my next video. And obviously when I start talking about pets, I'm not a professional on pets, but I know the basics. So for anyone that's just wanting to know, just feel free to drop a comment and just let me know. But apart from that, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.